When Disneyland opened, Walt Disney World said it would be always moving forward, always looking to the future. Well, on this episode of Disney for Brits, I'm going to be telling you why you need to be looking to the past and going back to the approach that I used when I first visited Disney World in the 80s, and this is how you can get the most out of your days. Currently, we've got no fast passes, we've got no ways of getting into the park early or late, so you need to adopt this historical way of using Disney World. All coming up here on this episode of Disney for Brits. Hey D4Bers, David here, how are you? Welcome to another episode of Disney for Brits. Now I'm recording this in July 2021 and we're starting to come out of what's been a pretty horrific time. We're not over it by any shakes, but there's still improvements coming. And this is changing the way you need to plan your Walt Disney World holiday, and similarly for the other Disney parks. I'm going to take you back in time to the time that I went to Disney World the first time, back in the 80s. Yes, I know, David, you don't look old enough. Here's what we did in order to get to the parks and to get on the rides that we wanted to do in the days before any kind of fast pass, whether it was the paper one or whether it was the electronic one that's no longer around. Now, as I said, we're in July 2021. There's rumours that Disney may well be bringing this back. They're trialling a paid park pass option in Disneyland Paris. I'm not a fan of that, but if you look at Universal charge an extra $95 a day for you to use the park pass. So if commercially you were the head of Disney, why on earth wouldn't you look at doing that for your park? So it may be coming. We're seeing massive queues as Disney announce more availability for park passes. They've opened up the 1st of October, the 50th anniversary, and now you can pretty much book days for that, and that was sold out on the previous allocation months ago. And anybody that's seen any reports on the parks at the moment knows that the queues, not only to get into the park, but to get on the rides, are massive. So you need to change the way that you're planning. Without fast passes, you're going to need to use normal queues. So here's the 5 things that I think you need to do in order to make the most of your visits. Coming up at number 1, this is all about knowing the times that the park opens. Now again, Disney had previously changed the durations that the parks were opening, so they'd open late and close early. That's now changing, and I hope by the time we get to October we're back to fairly normal opening hours, longer hours at the weekends. But it does mean you need to know your park times. So when you do start planning, and you're still going to need to plan, do make sure that you check the times now when you book your tickets and when you book your holiday, and probably about 2 months before and about 2 weeks before. 2 weeks before you go onto the Disney website, so whichever site you go through, disneyworld.com, disneyworld.co.uk, go on the official Disney website and search for park hours. You'll see there the opening and closing times for each of the parks. The other thing you'll also see on there is times of shows and parades and things like that. So it's worth noting those down. But make sure you know the time the park that you're going to visit opens. Number 2 is about park passes. Park passes, Disney have said, are going to be around for a while, so get your park passes in the diary. Now, if you're lucky enough to be staying on Disney property, happy days, you can book a whole 2 weeks worth. If you're buying a standard Disney ticket, so the UK 7 or 14 day ticket, again, you can book your whole 2 weeks worth. If you're one of those people in the UK that has an annual pass, like me, bad news, I'm afraid, you can only book 3 days at a time. Now, we're hoping that Disney will change this and treat us the same way as they treat their other guests, but at the moment, you can only book 3 at a time, and once you've used one, and the parks have closed on that day, you can book your next day. So it's going to be a bit more difficult for annual pass holders. But most people will stay on Disney accommodation and have a UK 7 or 14 or 21 if you're doing that day holiday, so you'll be okay. Do your park passes, get them booked as soon as you've booked your holiday and got your tickets. My recommendation is to vary the park. So do Magic Kingdom one day, Animal Kingdom the next, Hollywood Studios the next, Epcot the next. You might want to front end Hollywood Studios because it's still very difficult to get Rise of the Resistance tickets, and there's another queue that you have to get on that. Search on the internet for virtual queue Rise of the Resistance if you want that. But vary them throughout the 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 week that you're there to give you an opportunity to visit each park. We've got our park passes and we know the times that our parks are opening. Tip number 3 is check for anything else that's going on that day. This is all about a couple of weeks before you go, checking things and see if there's anything special going on. So for instance, there may be early events that stop people going into the park early. Have a look at those and just put those into your plan. If you see there's some late events, so the Halloween events and the Christmas events go on late in the evening, that again is a reason to consider that you're not going to be able to do the rides if you stay on late. So consider a different park on those days maybe. We're starting to build our plan now. We know what park we're going to on what day. We've got our park pass. We know what time it opens and we know that if there's any other special events on for those days. The next thing you need to consider is how are you going to get to the park? Now, I always have a hire car when I'm in Florida. It gives me much more flexibility and I can pretty much go wherever I want. The only place and the only park that this really doesn't work is the Magic Kingdom. The Magic Kingdom, you cannot drive to the front unless you're dropping people off. You have to go to the transportation and ticket centre and then either get the monorail or one of the ferry boats across, and either one of the big ones or one of the small ones from the resorts. So think about your transport. You're going to need to add this to your travel time. If you're using park transport, add another hour onto your travel time. You need to make sure that you're there at the bus stop. This assumes you're staying on Disney Resort and using their transport. Add another hour on to get you there. If you're going to drive, give yourself plenty of time to get there. Give yourself time to get through any queues. And certainly if you're going to the Magic Kingdom, make sure you're at the bus stop early to get to the parks. If you're staying off-site and you're at a hotel that's not a Disney hotel that drops you at the front, happy days, use their bus service, use their transport services. You'll be dropped off at the front of the Magic Kingdom. But I always suggest for the other parks, if you can, get a taxi there, get an Uber there, or use your hire car. So number 5 is when to set your alarm for, and here's a little bit of maths for you. So the park opens at 9 o'clock for instance. Rope drop tends to start 30 to 60 minutes before that. Rope drop is when they allow people into the park before the official opening time. So for the Magic Kingdom, where people are at the front of the hub in the middle of the Magic Kingdom, ready to go off to where they're going to go. So park opens at 9 o'clock. You need to be at the park by 8:30 or 8 o'clock. If you're then talking about your transport options and you want to leave an hour to get there, you're at 7 o'clock. So alarm time really depends on how soon or how quickly you wake up. I can be up and out in half an hour. If you've got a bigger family, you may be looking at setting the alarms for 6 o'clock. Make sure you've got some breakfast to have in the room. So whether you've got a fridge that you've put some snack bars in, some apples, some fruit bags or something like that, or plan to have something in the park. If you've got youngsters, if they're tired and hungry and thirsty, this isn't going to be fun. So consider all of those things. We've got the time that the park opens, we've got our park pass done, we know what special events are on there, we know what transport we're going to use, and we know when we're setting our alarm for. The final bit on these, so I'm making it 6 now. The final thing is decide where you want to go first and make these the most popular rides. So if you're in Animal Kingdom, you're going to go left and you're probably going to go to Pandora and try and ride something there. If you're in Hollywood Studios, in and left to Star Wars, Rise of Resistance Virtual Queue. If you're in Magic Kingdom, it depends what you want to ride on. Most popular rides in the morning tend to be Space Mountain, Splash Mountain, Thunder Mountain, and of course Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So you may want to go straight through the centre of the castle to do that. Don't forget you can go up either side of the castle if those ways are open and come round Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. you set your alarm, and it really is go, go, go. Get to that park half an hour to an hour early, get on and literally black round the rides that you want to do, and then relax. So you might have 2 or 3 hours of really doing everything you want to do, and then relax, because then you can just enjoy it as everybody else starts to come in and do the rides. Do that maybe a day on, maybe a day off, so your whole holiday is not getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. One of the things that will help you is jet lag, and it's not often that people will say that. On your first morning in Florida, your body will be trying to wake you up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, which is 8 or 9 o'clock UK time. And you could take advantage of that. Now, I'm not saying get up at that time, but maybe sleep in and get up at 5, half 5. The family will also be awake, so if you've got a family with you, get them up and ready to go. And take advantage of the jet lag, confusing your body's body clock for a little while. You've probably got 3 or 4 days when you can do that. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit of a slog once you've done that. And then alarm set, up, go, go, go. Get into the park, do the rides you want to do, and then relax. Day on, day off. Make sure you spend some time around the hotel pool. It doesn't have to be a massive rush. You can have days where you just bimble around the park and look at all the things that are there. Disney have spent millions of hours putting in some amazing little hidden treats for you. YouTube's a great source of ideas for little hints and tips and secrets. My book, My Magical Disney Planner, will help you plan this, and I'll put a little code in the description so you can get some money off, and it'll tell you where to buy it as well. It'll really help you. One of my favorite places in the Magic Kingdom, when you walk up Main Street, on the far right hand side there's a little area that quite often has flowers and a flower display set up. You can actually sit in there. It's fairly quiet and just watch the world go by, but it's a nice place for a rest. So there you have it. Disney World are making us go back in time. We're having to go back 30 or 40 years from the time before Animal Kingdom, before Epcot, before Hollywood Studios, before fastpasses, where the only way to really get on the rides that you want without massive queues is to be at the park at rope drop, which is 30 to 60 minutes before the park opens. It's a slog. It's a little bit of work, but it will be worth it. Nobody wants to get to the end of their 2-week holiday having not been on the rides that they really wanted to do. Now, we obviously hope that the Disney people will decide that they're going to put FastPass back in, certainly as we're going towards the 1st of October. We're also really hoping that they don't use the paid park pass option as they do at Universal and as they're piloting at Disneyland Paris. None of us want to pay any more. It's already a massively expensive holiday. Disney gods, please don't make us pay any more. I'd much rather spend it on foods and gifts than feeling cheated that the only way I can avoid the queue is by paying you even more money. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of that approach. If you've got some other ideas and other ways that you can do it, I'd love to hear it. Pop it in the comments below. Please also click and subscribe to the channel. There's lots of other videos on this channel. I've got hints and tips about driving, where to stay on-site versus off-site. And I've also started working with Edna Mode to do some resort reviews, so have a look at those. They're quite interesting and they really give you a slightly different insight to the hotel rooms. 2 other things to share with you before I go. Number 1 is look out for this, My Magical Disney Planner. Whether you're booking a Florida or California, whether you're from the UK or the US, whether you're going to Disney or the dark side of Universal, this book will help you plan. It's got 80 pages, everything to hints and tips to writing down everything you're going to do, to writing down the things that you want to do, to actually then creating day plans where you can tear out a whole day of your planning, pop it in your purse, wallet, bag, whatever you want to have, and have that with you. I'll put in the description a link to the video. Have a look at the video that shows you more about this, and I'll even give you a code to take some money off. So definitely worth a look. These have been really popular. I've just been planning Disney for years and years and years. I've been doing my own holidays, and a few people have said, can't you do it for us? So here it is. The other thing I want to offer you is my help as a personal travel concierge. I've spent years planning Disney holidays, various types in various countries, in various resorts, at various hotels. I can find the best deals and the best hotels and the best experience for your family. I've partnered with IntelliTravel, who are ABTA protected, and through them I have access to a whole load of suppliers who will supply me with anything from cruises to Florida holidays to UK staycations, all with the atoll protection that you also need where flights are concerned. If this is something you're interested in, just drop me a note at david@d4btravel. We'll set up a call, we'll talk through what you need, and let me go and do all the hard work for you. If you book a Disney holiday, once you've booked that, you get a copy of my book for free as a thank you from me, and I'm there to help you plan all your fast passes should they ever come back, your park passes, your dining reservations and everything else. So I'd love you to consider using me as your personal travel concierge. So that's it, we're going back in time in Disney, we're going back into the 80s where rope drop was the only way that you could get to see the rides that you wanted to see. Use my 5+1 points to help you plan those, and if there's anything else I can help you with, drop me a note, email me at david@disneyforbrits. Go and have a look at the other videos, think about what you want to do for your holiday, and if I can help in any way, please get in touch. You've been watching Disney for Brits. I'm David, and as our pal Mickey says, I'll see you real soon.